Did Tom ever tell you about my painting?
No.
Look at this.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
I like this one. The dog, one dog goes one way and the other dog goes the other way.
One is going east and the other one is going west. So what?
And this guy's saying, what do you want from me? Guy's got a nice head of white hair. Look how beautiful with the dog. It looks the same.
Looks like somebody we know.
I mean, without the beard. No, it's him. Oh, it's him.
Welcome to the Perfect Movie Podcast, the podcast where we answer the question, is this a perfect movie? I'm Michael.
I'm Kalen.
And today, we're on to our third film of Marty May. Now, you might be asking yourself, hey, what Marty are you talking about? Nope, not Marty, the zebra from Madagascar, played by Chris Rock. Remember when Will Smith slapped Chris Rock across the face?
Oh my gosh.
That happened at the Oscars. Will Smith's not invited anymore.
Nope. But he's making Bad Boys 5.
And do you remember that he won the Oscar for King Richard?
Oh, I thought you were going to say he won the Oscar for Emancipation.
No. No, that was his second run at it. It was his penance for you must play a slave now. That's what the Overlord said.
That's what happens when you slap somebody at the Oscars.
Nope, not Steve Martin. The dad from Cheaper by the Dozen or Only Murders in the Building.
What happened to that guy?
He's still around. He's in the show Only Murders in the Building with his good friend Martin Short. Not him, but he's also in that movie.
Oh my
God. I didn't have any more Martins written down, so we're actually talking about Martin Scorsese, the director. And today we're gonna do what a lot of people would say is his best movie.
Yes.
Certainly his most famous one.
For sure.
We will decide as we speak. Is it his most successful one?
The one that he keeps remaking.
Yeah. Yeah. This is the first shovel into the well that he goes back to.
For sure.
8 more times in the last 3 decades. So this is our 90s movie. It's Goodfellas. Starring Ray Liotta,
Robert De Niro, Joe Pesci.
Yeah, who we will, especially De Niro and Pesci, they'll continue to be themes. And they were themes into the past, as we had De Niro. Actually, he's been in all 3 of these episodes so far.
Yes.
So, Goodfellas. Kalen, what do you think about Goodfellas? Where do we want to start?
Goodfellas is probably one of my favorite movies of all time.
Mm-hmm.
It's one that I go back to on a regular basis, which is kind of crazy because it's like a 3-hour long movie. I love every single minute of it. It's such a classic.
It was like 2:30, which I thought was less than I remembered it being.
Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah. It doesn't really feel that long.
No.
Some of the stuff in the end kind of does, but yeah, this movie is just an absolute classic. I mean, you just have some of the best acting you'll ever see in any film. And you got these major stars, and the dialogue is just incredible, and just the way he sets up scenes and just how realistic everything feels. It's got this great vibe. It's awesome.
Yeah, I watched this little mini interview of Scorsese where he was going through a bunch of his films in his filmography, but what he said specifically about Goodfellas is Ray Liotta is sort of our central character, but the main character of this movie is the underworld. It is the land of the mafia and the goings-on within it.
Yeah.
And I think that's certainly true. And yeah, it's just a stone-cold watchable movie. It starts with 3 guys lit by the taillights of a beat-up old car. They open the trunk. There's a man tied up there. One of them stabs him a bunch, slams the door, and he says, "Ever since I was a kid, I wanted to be a gangster."
Classic line.
Boom. We jump right into it. That's an all-timer start of a movie. It's a banger front to back. It does have that Scorsese quality where there's lots of just kind of meandering scenes where like the first time you watch it, you're like, why are we here? What's happening here?
You have like a 10-minute long scene of them at Tommy's mom's house, and they're like right after they got done killing the guy, and she like woke up in the middle of the night and started cooking them dinner, and like you just sit there with these characters and they're just talking.
She shows them the painting of the dogs. Hey, I like that painting. And one of the dogs is looking one way, and one of them's looking the other way.
Kind of, he's got this long white flowing hair. It kind of reminds me of somebody, right?
So, actually, before we get into this, are we going to maintain this new segment, the drip check?
Drip check.
Boop, 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 boop.
Good. What's your name and where you from?
Willem Dafoe. I'm from Wisconsin.
Ooh, Wisconsin is in the house. Stop playing on them.
I'm from Rome.
Okay. Shout out to Rome. Oh, we see your fit. Describe it.
What I'm wearing?
Yup.
Prada shoes,
Prada.
Prada coat,
Bam.
T-shirt,
Okay.
a green Woolrich sweater.
Damn.
You got to find something to introduce the drip check.
With the drip check, I'm either going to do the Willem Dafoe drip check.
Yeah.
Or there's a really fun one with the older man where he's like shoes, jeans, Lee's, Apple, Granny Smith, Skechers. But can I say the drip of this movie? This may be also, while peak Scorsese movie, this may be peak drip.
Yeah, it's up there for sure.
Ray Liotta just has a multitude of fits.
Yeah.
Through this time, I think a great one is the brown leather jacket he wears when he beats his neighbor's ass for going at his girlfriend.
Yeah.
That's a great fit. Check out, I just snapped some pics. Ray Liotta in this black stripy sweater.
Yeah, that's fire.
So
I'd wear
fire.
that.
He's got here's anymore. We call them A shirts
With the chain and
with the chain, just a really great luxury flare. And then what is the boss's name?
Paulie.
Paulie's like sweater jacket. You see that?
It's real dapper. Yeah.
And it's got little like flecks in there, and it looks hella warm, which is great for. Is this in New York or is this in Chicago?
I believe it's out. It's Jersey area.
Okay, New York, Jersey.
It's outside of New York.
Okay, either way, you could use a nice thick sweater during good portions of that time, and man, that looks great.
They got also like their cars and stuff they're driving. I know Ray Liotta has like a red convertible. These dudes are pimped out for show.
Yeah, lots of excellent drip, particularly Ray Liotta's character. He's like, who actually has the opposite of drip in this movie is Robert De Niro. As soon as he puts on his specs,
that's what I was gonna say. He kind of like, because we see him fully dripped out in Casino, and in this movie he kind of takes a back seat, and he's like letting Ray Liotta get his shine.
This movie he really does take a back seat. He's really a side character.
Yeah.
But once he brings out those specs, he looks like the guy that comes to fix the doll in Toy Story 2.
Yeah, because they magnify his eyes. Yeah,
he's just got the thickest, most magnified glasses ever. So drip check.
Joe Pesci had some bangers too. I'm trying to think of like certain scenes. I think the scene where he took him and the girlfriends out, the first time Henry met Karen, Pesci had this nice black silky suit on. It was pretty fresh. So,
or in the "Do I entertain you? Do I amuse you?" scene.
Oh yeah,
he has this like really like old like Western style collar going on.
Yep,
great stuff. I'm not a fashionista.
The mob dudes know how to flex. You know,
this has aged gracefully in the last 35 years.
They got the pinky rings and shit.
And that's also just the period of time, because right now, 2000 to 2008 is the ugliest time in history.
Yeah.
But when we move forward, I'm sure that'll come back around again.
Oh, I would love to start like just wearing suits on the regular. If I could afford it.
Wear big white T-shirts with like a gangsterized what's up, Doc? Bugs Bunny in front with like a big chain.
Yeah.
With my Jankos. Okay, let's move along to the performance test, where we'll talk about our favorite scenes and performances.
It was the performance of a lifetime.
I think we have to throw this out there right away. Joe Pesci absolutely murders this movie. He steals every single scene he's in, and it's pretty incredible.
There's a movie podcast called the Rewatchables that I listen to, and they have this category called like Best Heat Check Performance, which is like they call it the Dion Waiters Award, because if you're not an NBA head, but Dion Waiters is a guy that would just come off the bench. He's not gonna, like, if he gets the ball, it's going up. Like, he's not looking around to pass. He is a shooter. Let him shoot.
Right.
Dion Waiters Award goes to Joe Pesci in this movie. If he's in the scene, he's gonna steal it.
Yeah.
And you don't know. You don't know where it's gonna go.
Yeah.
You know, like the first time you watch this movie, it's like this man. He's insane, but he's kind, but he's crazy, but he's
charming, and like it's so many mixed emotions. And I think one of the most iconic scenes probably in cinema is the "Am I a Joke to You" scene, like right in the beginning, after kind of like the montage of Henry kind of going through his life, and you finally get to this bar. I think, what is it called, the Tiki Bar or something like that?
Is Joe Pesci the kid that he befriends when he's a kid?
Yes.
Okay.
That kid looked just like him too.
Yeah.
And I think that was like, they actually had really great casting as their younger characters.
Oh, the kid versions of these characters during the intro are great.
Yeah. But you kind of go, and it's just like this long shot of you're going through this bar and you're getting introduced to all these real life characters, these real life people who are actually in the mob. So I kind of went on a rabbit hole after I watched this movie and started watching interviews with some of the real people. Mm-hmm. And I watched Henry Hill's interview, and he's passed now. But the guy the real life Tommy, and so in the movie his name is Tommy DeVito, but in real life his name was Tommy DeSimone. And this guy, so unlike Joe Pesci, who's like 5'3", this guy was like 6'3", and he was massive. And he was like a known sociopathic psychopath. Like, this dude was insane. And actually, some of the stuff that he's like known for, some of his crimes were, from what I read, they were almost too ridiculous to put in the film. So they ended up cutting a lot of his stuff out. And some of his real life crimes, like I know he like beheaded like an ex-girlfriend, and he randomly shot a civilian to test out a gun one night. And this guy was he was on coke all the time, and he was just an absolute psychopath.
I mean, that's just like I forget the kid's name, but it's like Dance Kid Dance, when he starts shooting at the bartender boy's feet.
Yeah, so that's a real story. So there's really a kid named Spider who used to just hang out at these bars, and he was kind of like, I don't know if he was like a runner for them, or you know how they kind of start off kind of just working and, you know, handing out drinks and stuff, and that's how they kind of get introduced into the life. But this kid was just kind of like, I guess he got into it. He said, fuck you, or what do you say in the movie? He was like, why don't you go fuck yourself, right?
Yeah.
And then Tommy shot him in his foot, and the next time he came into the bar, he shot him dead. This guy was real life fucking crazy, and nobody wanted to be around him, and nobody like actually felt bad when he ended up getting clipped in real life. So
Spider moves on to be a co-star in The Sopranos.
Yeah, Christopher Moltisanti.
Yeah.
Yo, Tony. Hey, T.
I just want to rewind back to the Am I a Clown? Do I amuse you?
Yeah.
Scene?
Sorry, I went on a fucking tangent.
No, that's great. I just think Ray Liotta relieves a co-MVP for that scene, because the way he's laughing at the start of the story, it's a well-known meme at this point too, but the way he's just dying laughing at Tommy telling this story, it's both like because it's funny and because he knows he's afraid of this guy.
Yeah,
you know?
Everybody's trying to gas him up, you know.
Yeah. And then just everybody in the background, because Scorsese also talked about this scene, that it was based on a real story that I think Joe Pesci had. The whole like, am I a clown? Do I amuse you? Like the switch of the tone there, and they wanted to do it in a 2-shot. So if you watch it, there's only a shot, reverse shot, and everybody in the background is involved in the scene too, even the guys that aren't talking.
Yeah.
And you can just watch the whole room just like kind of deflate as the edge turns on Tommy.
And then the nervous laughter when they figure out he was just pulling his leg, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's great.
Just My favorite thing in this whole movie might just be Ray Liotta listening to that story.
I love Ray Liotta's like hand gestures where he's just always got his hands up, like no matter what he's saying, he's like, I don't know, you're funny, you know.
And there's something just like a little bit sweaty and white about Ray Liotta all the time because like he's got like the Coke sweats at all times that just sells it even more. Like he's having such a good time. And he's slowly dying.
Rest in peace to Ray Liotta, by the way.
That's true. His last credit is in Cocaine Bear.
Bing, what are you doing here? I thought I'd tell you to go fuck your mother. I thought he was gonna shit. Pow, Bing, oh, fuck is... Hey, I wish I was big just once. You're the big cops.
Really funny. Really funny.
What do you mean I'm funny?
It's funny, you know. It's a good story. It's funny. You're a funny guy.
What do you mean? You mean the way I talk? What?
It's just, you know, you're just funny. It's, you know, the way you tell the story and everything.
Funny how? I mean, what's funny about it?
Tommy, no, you got it all wrong.
Oh, Anthony. He's a big boy. He knows what he said. What'd you say?
You're right.
Funny how? What?
Just, you know, you're funny.
You mean,
So?
well, let me understand this, because maybe it's me, I'm a little fucked up, maybe. But I'm funny how? I mean, funny like I'm a clown, I amuse you. I make you laugh. I'm here to fucking amuse you. What do you mean funny? Funny how? How am I funny?
No, just, you know how you tell a story. What?
No, I don't know. You said it. How do I know? You said I'm funny. How the fuck am I funny? What the fuck is so funny about me? Tell me. Tell me what's funny.
Get the fuck out of here, Tommy.
You motherfucker! I almost had him. You stuttering prick yet? Frankie, was he shaking? I wonder about you sometimes, Henry. You may fold under questioning.
Oh,
R.I.P.
he went out like a G. Obviously Robert De Niro.
Hey, Ray. Yeah, we got a script. Yeah, it's about a bear that does cocaine. Enough said.
No, you hear. Sign me up.
Sorry, what were you saying?
So Robert De Niro. Again, what else can we say about Robert De Niro?
It's funny that he's such a side character. I think my favorite scene with him in this movie is when he's speaking with Ray Liotta's wife, and he says, you know, help yourself. Here's some cash, and get yourself a dress down the block.
Yeah,
and she's slowly realizing that this go get the dress is a setup.
Yeah.
As he's like watching her and just waving her and just going like, go on, just it's down there.
She's like, where? Over there.
It's like funny to start, and then you're like, oh no.
Is he actually trying to fucking whack her? Like, what the hell?
Yeah, and it's kind of left vague, but she goes home scared, and a lot of the end of the movie this happens there. But yeah, he's a sideshow in this. He's not the main character, but he's
But you can feel his presence though when he's there. This guy is like a shot caller. He's actually he plays an Irishman, and this is also a real person. And so he, along with Henry, they weren't full-blooded Italians, so they couldn't be made. But they were still under the employment of Paulie. And basically, they would just kind of do like bootlegs, and they would rob a bunch. What is De Niro's character's name in this? Do you remember? Jimmy Conway.
Yeah.
So he's most known for like kind of masterminding one of the biggest heists in American history, the Lufthansa heist. Another real life event
that shows up in this movie.
Yeah. And so one thing that I really love is like all these characters, you kind of like, you start off really loving these characters. And as the movie goes on, you kind of go down this slow descent into paranoia, madness, murder, and just like you realize these people are awful and they're complete psychopaths for the most part. And so towards the end, after the Lufthansa heist, Jimmy kind of ends up, he's so paranoid he doesn't want people buying anything. One of my favorite scenes is when
that's a great one.
They're having the party.
Mm-hmm.
bar, and a bunch of people keep coming in, like who are a part of the heist, and they have like coats, like these nice mink coats on, and like one guy bought a car, and Jimmy's like telling all of them, get the fuck out, I told you not to buy shit. And so he ends up like murdering like all these people. And Sam Jackson makes an appearance as Stax. Everybody loves Stax. What more can we say about Robert De Niro? He's fantastic.
One thing I just want to point out about when we reviewed Casino, I kind of complained about this, that it starts out with a lot of montage and voiceover to like get you up to speed. And it's not exactly the case here, although there is a lot of that. And we return to voiceover. In fact, there's a really cool moment where the voiceover switches when we meet Karen for the first time. And we get some voiceover from Karen, who, upon rewatch, is a stronger character than I gave her credit for, I think, on the first time.
Yeah.
She's
not as good as Sharon Stone in Casino.
No, but she's her own kind of mess, but it feels honest in the way that I think a lot of women that would be the type that is attracted to a Henry Hill type would be.
For sure.
And behave.
Just the allure of like that lifestyle.
But this movie, it starts with ever since I was a kid, I wanted to be a gangster. And then we flash back, and we don't actually arrive back to that time for like an hour.
Yeah.
Eventually, we get back to why there's the man in the trunk and the three of them in the car.
Yeah.
But that takes a whole hour, and that's another great scene, which is I'm forgetting the name of the character, but he's a made guy within the mafia, and he has a run-in with
Tommy, Joe Pesci's character.
Yeah, and
you can tell they have some history.
It's
between
with Billy
each other.
Batts.
Billy Batts. Yep.
And they have some history, and he goes with the "get your fucking shine box" line because he's teasing Tommy about how he used to shine shoes.
Yeah.
And it's all a line that comes up a lot in this movie. Hey, I'm just breaking your balls. Breaking your balls over here.
I'm breaking your balls and you're getting fresh.
You getting fresh with me? So Tommy ends up shooting Billy Batts, a made man, and that is also later becomes a part of their downfall because Billy Batts is made. None of these three guys were made. You're not supposed to touch a made guy. This murder is sort of a dark secret that is kept between these three men.
Yeah. There's a lot of unwritten rules to the mafia, and you kind of like discover these as you keep going, and that's kind of what I love about the mystery of just the mob in general, and I think that's what makes these movies so kind of alluring. So yeah, if you were to whack a made guy, you'd have to have a sit down with a boss, okay, that, and you'd have to have probable cause. And a big one, I guess, is like if the guy is sleeping with your wife or something. It's just like different things like that.
Yeah.
So, but there's just like I think again, like how we always talk about just Scorsese movies in general. It's just like all the side characters are what make it so great.
There's the guy that has just the weird, like, caked on, like, Bosley fro. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
And he sticks around a long time.
He does. Yeah, he's great. He's funny. Like, he's got some great lines, too.
Another great scene we haven't mentioned, and maybe we should save it for It's an Art, but the oneers where we get introduced to all the characters.
Yeah.
And there's one whose name is just Maury's Wigs, because he wears wigs.
Yeah. Or what was it, Jimmy Two Times? Because he says everything twice. He's like, I'm going to go get the papers.
Yeah, the collection of dudes with not with accents, with nicknames. It's also it's a mob movie thing, but it is Guy Ritchie movies love their
like
introductions.
Accents.
Like that's what he's robbed from them the most. It's like, is Billy the Butcher? If Gangs of New York was a Guy Ritchie movie, it'd be Jason Statham going in and being like, it's Billy the Butcher. He's the craziest fucking bloke you've ever seen.
I really like the guy. He shows up earlier in the movie too. This is when Henry is like a kid, and Henry starts hanging around the whatever shop they're at. And some guy runs up to the shop and he's been shot. And Henry goes and gets all of these towels and starts like helping the guy out. And the dude's like, "You wasted 4 fucking towels on this guy. we gotta toughen this kid up."
Yeah, that guy kind of disappears. Again, I don't remember his name, but he's like kind of the guy that shows him the way to start.
Yeah,
he's like
basically.
He's like his first boss when he's like a teenager, dude, he blew up like a whole parking lot.
Yeah. Yeah, and he was like, he was making a lot of money as a child, apparently, and he said he had more money than any of the adults in the neighborhood. The kids used to carry his groceries home. It was out of respect.
Jimmy's. I think the first time we meet Jimmy, De Niro's character, is after the teenage boy gets pinched, and he says, "You took it like a man."
Yeah, you learned 2 lessons: you never rat on your friends, and you don't say anything.
That's literally the same lesson. That's one lesson.
He had to make sure he heard it twice. Okay.
Is he Jimmy 2 times? Gotta say
Yeah, maybe.
And the other thing I just want to touch on is the downfall of Henry.
Yeah.
There's the last like 30 minutes of this movie is just like cocaine fueled paranoia.
Yeah.
Spiraling as Ray Liotta's character starts dealing drugs, but it's a side thing that he's not breaking off Paulie in.
Yeah.
So,
I used to not like that sequence too much, but upon rewatch, I really loved it. Because it's kind of like Henry is going through these mundane things. Like, he's doing these fairly mundane things. Like, he's talking about sauce. Mm-hmm. Like, he's talking about how he has to pick up his brother. He's, like, going through a list of everything he has to do in one day.
Yeah.
And he's like, and then I got to get the sauce going. And by 5 o'clock, I have to go bring so-and-so to this. And I got to go pick up these guns. And then I got to go back to stir the sauce again. Telling us this, But I don't know. It just works into that, like, he's just losing his fucking mind,
Yeah,
it's great.
Is just the mind on dawn to dusk cocaine.
Yeah.
Like, that's what it sounds like in your head, I'm sure. Yeah, I agree. I didn't love that part when the first time I watched it, but it is like it's so necessary because you need to see. It's so alluring in the first half.
Yeah.
You need to see the fall apart, or else it's not a good movie, or at least not a responsible movie.
Right.
I would say.
Yeah, I think a lot of people, criticism upon release was like a lot of it was like it glorifies that lifestyle, but I don't think so. I mean, it's much more a tale of caution than anything. So
it's like, in a way, Henry Hill got off easy.
He did.
But he's like the one.
He also made a shit ton off of this movie. The real Henry Hill. And actually, so I read a few things about him, and a lot of like former mobsters have kind of came out talking shit about him because he was like the original 6ix9ine. He ratted on everybody.
Yeah.
And a lot of these guys are dead now, so he's nobody's gonna touch him now. Or before he passed, no, he wasn't worried about his life. But people were coming out and saying that he fabricated a lot of the story. He kind of made his importance. He kind of elevated his importance in his role as what he was doing. There's just a lot of different things. He was a drunk and he couldn't be trusted. Like, he just would spew things out of his mouth. Not a lot of people liked him in real life.
What's this?
It's an art project.
Okay, I like it. Picasso. Yeah, that way.
This is where we talk about the aspects of the filmmaking process, like sets, effects, lighting, music.
First thing off the bat, the music. Bangers. All of them. Scorsese loves to use this one singer, and I've featured him on both of our Celebration of Cinema videos. So if you guys haven't seen those, go check it out. But the singer, his name is Jerry Vale, and he is like this classical kind of like... I guess it would be in the same vein as like a Frank Sinatra almost. But he's got an incredible voice, and Scorsese has featured him in a number of his films, especially his mob-related ones. It's fantastic. The music is just incredible, and it really sets the tone.
He sounds like somebody you would see in a smoky room in Vegas in 1954.
Yeah, for sure.
That's the vibe. And maybe we can do a clip, but also that might get us shut down forever.
I don't know. I'd put 2 of his songs on.
Oh, that's true. If it's on the YouTube library, it might be different.
Yeah.
The one thing I wanted to say, the use of freeze frames in this movie is frequent.
Yes. Kind of jarring.
It's how it starts, and it's just a frequent theme in this.
Yeah.
It's sort of the like period on the end of the sentence oftentimes, because that's usually accompanied with some voiceover by Ray Liotta about like, it's oftentimes the like, oh shit, how am I gonna get out of this one?
He was like, Bats was a made guy. This was really bad.
Yeah.
And then it cuts back to the scene. Like,
I imagine this was very cutting edge in 1990.
Yeah.
He invented a lot. I think Scorsese invented a lot of tropes as far as like the filming of stuff.
For sure.
Later in like the Tarantino, Guy Ritchie movies, you're seeing lots of like freeze frame and then you slap the name on there.
Yeah.
His name's Billy Bats.
Yeah.
Because he's batshit.
You have some amazing shots though in this movie. Some very like iconic scenes. I think one scene that I really love, just by the look of it, is the scene where they're digging up Billy Bats again, and Henry is like puking his guts out, and there's like this haze, and then there's like this red light from the car, and it's just such a iconic shot, and it's just like it really kind of portraits these people, and you really see them as the monsters that they really are. And while they're doing this, they're making jokes and laughing, and there's a dead body in front of them. Some person they just murdered because for whatever, you know what I mean? It's just like that's, I think, the turning point of this movie is when you start to really unravel these characters. I think shortly after that, that's the scene where you get Tommy kills Spider. And that's how you, like, before that, you didn't really see Tommy do anything real crazy. But then you just see why, like, wow, these guys are complete sociopaths.
I think a scene that really stands out as a big, long oneer, it's maybe one of the it shots of this movie, is the Copacabana backroom entrance.
Yeah.
Henry Hill and Karen go on their first date, or actually their second date, where he takes her out to the Copacabana. And it's this really magical, he goes in the back door, he walks through the kitchen, everybody knows him, he slides some people 50s, they put down a table for him.
Yeah.
The camera swings around, and there's some famous comedian telling jokes. He's sitting
He was
there
pretty
in the
funny,
second row.
too. He had some good lines.
He's sitting there in the second row. He gets there, and we're just watching like Karen just get completely wrapped up in this.
Yeah, she's enamored. In
this world, and how connected. Like, Henry, what do you do?
I'm in construction. Red flag. Run away, Karen. He's not in construction. He said, I'm a union delegate.
Yeah,
that sounded better.
I dig holes, that's for sure. Yeah, so that is an all-timer shot, and there's a very similar one early on where we get everybody's nicknames.
That's one of my all-time favorite shots ever. It's so brilliant, and it's so perfectly executed.
Yeah, and while we're there, just the lighting and the set dressing of the Copacabana, which is a place we frequent.
Yeah. And
just in general in this movie is really great. As well as the costuming. The costuming is, it hasn't aged a day somehow.
No.
A lot of classic gangster fits, which we touched on in the drip check. And yeah, it's just, it's a masterfully made movie. And as we continue into next week, I think I'll talk more about how Martin Scorsese is a very talented filmmaker. And it's like when you turn on his movies, there's like, at least for me, there's this instant notification of like, I'm in good hands.
Quality,
control. He's got big scenes. He knows how to do big scenes with all these extras and all this extra stuff going on. And he knows how to do small scenes where it's just a few guys in a room arguing and hashing things out, and he knows just how to do it all, and he does it with style and panache, and usually gets really great performances out of his actors. And I think this Goodfellas, it set the blueprint for what he comes back to frequently.
Yeah.
The sort of tone and style of story of these kind of anti-heroes that get wrapped up in a crime world or some other world of like the economic world of Wolf of Wall Street.
Yeah.
Or the oil-hungry world in Killers of the Flower Moon.
Yeah.
And this sort of rise and fall from grace from the greed of these people. And also it gives you a good portrait of why that stuff is so enrapturing and can capture people and turn them into these little monsters.
Yeah.
You know?
For sure.
And he's great at that. And it's not something I want to gloss over just because he really is one of the all-time best filmmakers, certainly one of the best filmmakers alive with the best portfolio of movies.
Absolutely.
Masterful filmmaker.
There's not many that have had a career like his. And, he needs his flowers for sure.
I literally cannot think of, I'm sure there's maybe like a couple foreign directors, But like as far as people that have had like 5 or 6 decades of relevance, and
I mean, I wanted to say Steven Spielberg, but I mean he's kind of dropped off the radar a little
Spielberg might be, yeah, I think his later, like the last like 10, 15 years, you can't point to anything I think from Spielberg that was incredible. I think his last really great movie was Lincoln, which I don't remember when that came out. But there's
probably
been a
2011,
good run.
I think 2011,
and
2012.
Spielberg has this, you know, there's sort of a diluted quality where like Scorsese, it's like
it's got a Hallmark
pretty much
feel to it.
No, yeah, not to shit on Spielberg, but like Scorsese, it's kind of bangers from front to back. There's some lesser known movies and like some that I don't love as much, but I think compared to like Spielberg, who will go from like Saving Private Ryan to like Amistad, which is an okay but not great movie, and then to something like, I don't know, like War Horse.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Where it's just kind of more up and down, and like there's
wait, Tarantino.
It's true. The one thing I will say about Tarantino, I enjoy his movies, but they are all the same, much more than even Martin Scorsese.
Yeah, no, you're definitely and
even
right
like
that.
Steven Spielberg. Like I hated Ready Player One, but that's a different kind of swing from Steven Spielberg.
For sure.
You know, he's trying something different. So there's a few names that are up there, but Scorsese is a great one. And you turn on one of his movies and I don't know, 8 or 9 times out of 10, like you've put on one of the best choices you could make.
Yeah. And you just get so immersed. Like you almost forget you're watching a movie. At least that's how I feel when I watch Goodfellas and like Casino. You just get so wrapped up in this world and these characters. You almost don't want it to end. And I think that's a mark of a great film and a great filmmaker.
100%. Should we move along to, hey, what are you trying to say?
You know, I'm just wondering about the color. It seems kind of dark. I wonder if I could have a lighter color, maybe a light blue or something.
Oh, so what are you saying? You're saying I don't know colors? I don't know anything about suits? What, I just came off the street, I was some unemployed guy begging for money on the corner, and they threw me in here to try to fit people? You don't think I know anything about suits? Oh, no, let's go that color? Is that what you're saying?
You think the dark then?
Yeah, I think the dark.
Okay,
would go all right.
we'll go with the dark.
So yeah, like kind of what we were talking about earlier. It's just like it's a tale of caution. It's a look into a lifestyle and a way of living that's so foreign, you know, as civilians, and like you were saying, it grabs you at first, and then you start to see the seams, and you start to see the blemishes and the stuff that would make you want to run away from it. And you see that it's almost sad. You watch these characters and they're busting their ass, even though, you know, they're not doing things the honorable way, societal wise, but it's like they're working so hard, but what is your end goal? Yeah. You know what I mean? And that's one thing I was like thinking about with Henry. I was like, what is this dude's end goal? What is he trying to do? You know, other than to maintain and to keep maintaining this lifestyle. And I think maybe that's a goal. You know, he just doesn't want that to end, or maybe he wants to eventually become legitimate. I don't know. It just seems like it's such a dead end for people in that life.
Well, you want a great portrait of like a product of their environment, or like the influence, like your especially when you're like a teenage boy, of like your male role models.
Yeah.
In that time, like that's what this movie is. It doesn't wag it in your face and be like, I have a message for you.
Right.
But it starts with a young boy, Henry Hill, looking across the street and seeing all these guys that, oh, they're so cool. They're so untouchable. I want to get a piece of what they have. And then he gets a little piece and he's instantly like blowing up cars, doing all these, like, he's doing petty crimes, but also like pretty dangerous crimes for like a teenage boy to be committing.
Yeah.
And he's off on that path for the next 20 years.
Yeah.
And like it's without stopping and saying we're a message movie, I think if you sit and think about what's actually occurring, there's enough said right there in just the arc of this whole life as shown.
Right. Because it wasn't like he was born into a broken household.
No.
He had a mother and a father that worked a 9 to 5 and came home and every night, you know what I mean? And he just didn't want that, you know. And I'm sure back then you're like, this is post-depression era, and people are trying to make a way and make some type of sustainability for them and their family, and I guess you got to do what you got to do in those types of neighborhoods. So I mean, it's still something we see today, obviously. So
this was not in Hey, What You're Trying to Say. I just looked up at my notes. Did you know this movie ends on a Sex Pistols cover of My Way? Like, it's a famous song that you probably know from Frank Sinatra, but there's many, I think, covers of My Way.
Yeah.
But it's funny that they chose like a 90s British, Sex Pistols British punk band cover of a Frank Sinatra song.
Yeah. That was kind of a bizarre choice, but I mean, it worked.
That's like Quentin Tarantino putting Rick Ross
and Tupac in
Django.
Yeah.
All right, should we let the hate flow through you? This is where we air out our annoyances and our complaints.
I think some of the stuff with Karen, I don't know, because it just all flows so well.
I don't have a lot of complaints. I think my first time watching it, I thought Karen was a weak character, but watching it again, I think it, especially with the moment where we get, like, she's the only other character we get a voiceover switch where we just hear straight from her mind
and she's being blunt and honest about everything.
Yeah.
I couldn't wait to get away. I was ordering the dessert when they were eating dinner. When they were having coffee, I was asking for a check. I had business.
Have some coffee, it'll wake you up.
What do you call it?
Joe, come in the check.
Oh, what are you doing?
I gotta go.
Go where? I mean, we just got here.
I got that thing. I gotta go.
All right, wait a couple of minutes. We'll all leave together, okay? This way you don't go out like a bunch of hobos staggering out one at a time, you know?
I couldn't stand him. I thought he was really obnoxious. He kept fidgeting around.
I've criticized a lot of movies, I think, during our time about their treatment of women characters, and while this character is not...
she's no Sharon Stone.
She's no Sharon Stone, and she's also not like a perfect individual or like a great woman per se. I don't think it's a offensive character.
Yeah, for sure. She definitely spirals along with Henry. But I mean, it's just like, because she's in this relationship that she's so entangled with, and then there's that allure of this lifestyle she doesn't want to lose. I think it's very like realistic. And
also, like, they talk about these people's families. We don't talk to our real families. These people are our family now. Mm-hmm. So she's also very, cut off from, like, where would she go?
Yeah. One of my favorite scenes with her is the wedding scene where she's getting introduced to all of like Paulie's family, and everybody's named Paul or Marie, and they're married to women named Marie and stuff. Just great stuff, man. I don't know. Every scene is just fantastic. There's not much to hate. I used to not, like I was saying earlier, I used to not really enjoy the last half hour of this movie, just because I thought it used to run a little too long, and I don't know. But this recent watch through, I kind of looked at it through a different lens, and it actually flows very well.
This movie reminds me of a Danny Brown quote. Are you ready?
Yes. This is out of left field.
Danny Brown, rapper, about his album Atrocity Exhibition, which is like it's probably the last thing I listened to from him, but it's pretty like intense and also sometimes very quiet. But he said in this album, he wanted to say, like, I want this to reflect my experience with drugs, but not just the fun and the mania, but the come down and the paranoia and like the anger.
Yeah.
I think this movie and the end of this movie reflects that. Like, it doesn't just show the joy and the mania and the excitement. It's like, this kid is, this guy's spiraling.
And he looks terrible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he's just juggling so many plates all while just hopped up on cocaine. It's not a good time, but I think it's very key.
Speaking of Danny Brown, I feel like the hip hop or the Goodfellas influence on hip hop to be said. Like, how many lines have you heard? How many verses have you heard? Like, somebody say Goodfellas, Robert De Niro, or something. You know what I mean? Like,
there's a
hip hop loves.
There's a YG song films where he says something about I'm about to make a movie Scorsese. So, yeah, Martin. I mean,
put some respect on him.
Next to Scarface, I feel like Goodfellas is probably right up there as far as rap
And Godfather,
references.
anything gangster related, basically. Yeah.
I mean, if you just went for Jay-Z bars alone, I feel like that's the holy trinity of like film references.
Yeah. But I mean, it's like I think that goes to the accessibility of this film as well, where it's like this film is for all audiences. I think anybody would watch this and be completely enthralled by it, and that's something to say too. And it's just aged like fine wine as well. I don't know. This movie is like the definition of timeless, I would say.
This movie is the definition of timeless. So we are ending the Let the Hate Flow Through You segment.
I knew we were going to just rave about this film the entire time, and that's fine. We need some of that sometimes.
So we should ask the final question. Is this a perfect movie?
You lost a baby brother. Perfect in every way.
I had a baby brother. I had a little baby brother. And it was perfect. Perfect in every way.
Absolutely.
Easy yes. One of the best filmmakers of all time makes his best movie. It's going on the list.
Would you say Goodfellas is a masterpiece?
Yeah. Hell yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's just so many great elements. Again, like I said, it's just, you turn it on, you're like, damn, I'm in good hands. It's got that quality where, like, even if you haven't seen it, you feel like you've seen it, not just because it's a part of pop culture, but because it just has this. I think there's certain movies that they're so well made, it's like unlocked a thing that you didn't know you had.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, it's like the thing that's in every human. I don't know how to explain it. It's just an experience that only we can share as a collective.
So, yes, Goodfellas. It's on the list. Easy dub for Martin Scorsese.
That's not two Scorsese movies. I almost thought we put Casino on there, but
let me check our perfect movie list. I could add it to our. I think I have a good idea for our showdown for our purgatory movies, but I'm going to add Goodfellas to the long list of perfect movies. Where the heck? Oh, Purgatory. No, The King of Comedy is on there, but Casino is not. I feel like we should add Casino.
To the perfect movie list?
To the Purgatory list.
Oh, the Purgatory list, okay.
Because I have an idea for how we're going to whittle down the Purgatory list when we have a breather.
Well, all right. All right.
I'm thinking basically, if you want to, I'm just going to give you a little sneak preview. So I'm thinking Purgatory list. I'm gonna come up with a number. I'll have you look at the list, be like, how many of these movies would you vouch for to push up? And then I'm gonna cut that number in half, and we have to battle for those spaces and try to get our movies on the list.
Okay.
So it's be like, in my corner, I want to make, I don't know, Hereditary. I want to put it on the perfect movie list, and then
it's like a tournament.
Yeah. And we have to, like, hash out our arguments.
Yeah.
And figure out, what, and then eventually come together on a combined list where, like, these 4 movies, they go up, the rest go down, or whatever.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
Eventually. But that is not next week. Do we have any more thoughts on Goodfellas?
If you have not seen Goodfellas, where the fuck have you been? Honestly. This movie's been out since 93. Get on it.
It's a good one. It's a great one. If you haven't seen it, I recommend it. Unless you're just a real sensitive soul. But if you were, you probably wouldn't be at the end of this podcast.
It's not that hard to, like, would you say the violence in here is kind of hard to watch?
I just mean on the grand scale, because I was raised by very puritanical parents, so this would have gone way past wouldn't have passed the test.
Yeah.
Next week, though, we're moving into the 2000s, and we had a few choices. Kaylin, did you want to watch The Aviator? The Henry Hughes movie?
No.
Kaylin, did you want to watch Hugo?
No.
We're going to watch Gangs of New York.
I knew it was going to... I wanted to be something with Leo DiCaprio, though.
I mean, it's got to be. Leo's the new De Niro.
Departed.
If your name doesn't end in O, he don't want to work with you. Ray Liotta,
Oh, you know how we always say everything comes back to Star Wars?
Jar Jar
Everything
Binks.
has been coming back to the B movie recently. Ray Liotta makes an appearance in the B movie as Ray Liotta.
No way.
Do you remember this? I feel like you're gonna have to cut in the scene now at the end of this podcast.
I'm gonna look up Ray Liotta's.
Ray Liotta makes the scene during the court scene in B movie.
Okay, while we're on B movie, is it just in my mind, or is the boyfriend of the ladies voiced by Patrick Warburton?
The boyfriend of the
lady.
That's Joe from Family Guy.
Joe from Family Guy.
Wait. The boyfriend of the girl in B movie is the Joe from Family Guy, the guy that's like the Crunk from Emperor's New Groove.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. He's got a great voice. He's hilarious.
He's a great time. He's in Scream 3.
Is he actually?
Yeah.
I might have to watch it then.
He's the co-security guard with Dewey.
Okay.
As he's playing security for the Stab 3 sequel.
Yeah.
Okay. And his nickname for Dewey is Dewdrop. So he gets a phone call from the killer who has a voice disguiser. But it sounds like Dewey. So he's like, "What do you want from me, Dewdrop?" You don't work for Steven Stone.
I feel like I would love to see it. It's just like random fan casting. But I'd love to see him in a movie with Bruce Campbell. Because they're like they're like one and the same. You know what I mean?
Strong jawline, straight voices.
Yeah, and just ridiculous people. And Nick Cage, all three of them in the same movie, that would be anarchy.
No, Nick Cage doesn't belong in this. He doesn't have a strong enough jaw or
true.
good enough voice. This is the strong jaw, good voice boys.
I'm just thinking about lunatics in general. Like,
all right, we need to sign off because I need to turn on this air conditioner for like 5 minutes.
Shit.
All right, love you guys.
No, we don't.
Mr. Liotta, first may I offer my belated congratulations on your Emmy win for a guest spot on ER in 2005.
Thank you.
I also see from your resume that you're devilishly handsome, but with a churning inner turmoil that's always ready to blow.
I enjoy what I do. Is that a crime?
Not yet it isn't, but is this what it's come to for you, Mr. Liotta? Exploiting tiny, helpless bees so you don't have to rehearse your part and learn your lines, sir?
Watch it, Benson. I could blow right now.
This isn't a good fella. This is a bad fella.
Why doesn't someone just step on this little creep and we can all go home?
Order in this
You're all
courtroom.
thinking it.
Order, I say. Mr. Lady, please sit down.